Ladies and gentlemen, an important topic. Who did Trump offer to become president right now? Yes, he did make the offer. Now the speculation has come to an end. All the idiots who are shouting that Trump is a usurper, that he will definitely violate the Constitution, will have to admit they were wrong. They'll have to come up with something new to lie about. In general, amazing things happen with Trump. He is always accused and hated for what he will supposedly do in the future. That's the fortune teller's perspective. But as soon as he does what they predicted but does the exact opposite, they immediately forget about their accusation. And now they predict that he will do this next. And this will be terrible for us. That is, at the very same moment they completely forget their previous prediction and start predicting something else. And here is the introduction to today's show by Benny Johnson. As always, I highly recommend it if, again, you know someone with good English skills. It's always interesting to watch him. It's funny, Trump sets the tune and Vance picks it up. But let's continue then with someone who is, in general, well-informed. Benny.
Hi guys, this is Benny. Juris Dr. Vance was sworn in by Mark Rubio. And they clearly have a very good relationship. They both worked for President Trump's companies and are working in his administration. I would say that they are both absolutely the most valuable and probably the most improved players in the Trump administration. Nevertheless, there are a lot of rumors about what will happen in the future. J.D. Vance did a podcast and Donald Trump said something this week revealing their intention. I'm not sure it'll be a sensation, but it's clearly rude to announce, hey, I'm running for president or for this position. And to sit there, look like a political animal and project what you want to do with your life. It's much more traditional and polite to just say, you know what, I have a job right now. I have a job that I'm doing. Nothing's been announced. We'll just move on and let things unfold. Now, the most interesting part begins. For the first time, J.D. Vance directly said that Donald Trump is asking me to run for president.
Trump's move is interesting. He's not waiting for the midterms, but already training Vance and Rubio with him. And probably the most important thing is to make this pair, in the eyes of the party and the whole world, look like a natural continuation of Trump. Actually, this is a remarkable, pure American story. This pair, these two pairs, I would say, considering their wives. A guy from an almost poor family where half of the relatives, including his own mother, are drug addicts, made it on his own, joined the army, then went to study, became a lawyer, wrote a best-selling book, and married the daughter of immigrants from India, who is also a lawyer. Very, very, very smart. The woman worked as an assistant for 2 Supreme Court judges, I think for Kavanaugh and Roberts, if I'm not mistaken. Then Vance got elected as a senator and completely crushed his opponent in the vice presidential debates. Well, honestly, that wasn't the hardest part. Here's Marco Rubio. His parents fled Cuba and he graduated from university with a law degree after studying politics. He's married with children. His wife, a beautiful former beauty queen, comes from a family of Colombian refugees and immigrants, so she was a cheerleader for the Miami Dolphins. Can you imagine what kind of selection process they have there? So the couple is coming to the final stretch. Right. The son of the Darkomanovs pulled himself out of that environment by his own hair, and he has 3 kids. Cuba, India, and Colombia are immigrants. There just hasn't been a lice like this before. Let them just try to say now that we have too many white people. I don't care what kind of dominance there is, as long as they do the right things. But it's funny, yeah, the dominance of white people in the Republican Party so early. So Trump's proposal shows that he intends to seriously prepare the pair for their future work. And he wants to immediately cut off any possible conflicts or intrigues within the administration itself, in case anyone else tries. Well, to try their hand at the race. I'm sure that those who are not from the administration will most likely try to participate. But more not to become president, but so that they get noticed and get invited somewhere. So, like a minister or the head of some department or project. This is actually done quite often in politics. Because, well, how else can you get onto the national stage except by breaking through to this stage, standing there, not answering questions together with the vice president and so on? How?
How do you feel about this? And have you talked about it with Secretary Rubio?
I joked about it with the secretary. The president first brought up this issue probably about 6 months ago during one of our private lunches that we try to have every couple of weeks to discuss what's going on and talk about business. He brought it up about 6 months ago, and I joked about it to the secretary, but it seems so premature because we're still at such an early stage. And what I always tell people is if we take care of business, the politics will take care of itself. And we've been at this for 9 months already. We've done a lot of good, but there's still a lot of work ahead. Because, I mean, look, what worries me most is that Biden left us with a terrible affordability crisis. We must make life more affordable for Americans. We've begun, but much work remains. Here's my position. The American people elected me vice president, and I'll work hard to help the president succeed over the next 3 years and 3 months. And if we get to a point where something else is proposed, let's deal with it then. But let's at least get through the next couple of years and do a good job for the American people before we start talking about politics.
The president doesn't mention who will run for president and who will run for vice president. Right now, everyone assumes it will be you. But Marco Rubio is 13 years older and he has already run for president. Will there be any tension there?
No, there won't be any tension. Marco is my best friend in the administration and we work together a lot. That's right. And really, I think a lot of the good work we've been able to do as an administration is because we can all work together. And again, that's why I say that worrying too much about politics actually, I think, makes you worse at your job. I never want to wake up, and so far I've never woken up thinking, how do I become president of the United States? When I wake up, I focus on doing my job as vice president well. And I believe Marco Rubio does the same as Secretary of State. And that's the question each of us should keep asking ourselves.
Then, you might hear how J.D. Vance kind of talks to Miranda Devine, and Miranda Devine has a great new podcast. Trump, not so much. Trump, on a plane heading to Asia this week, said, I want it to be J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. They're unstoppable. Let's go, sir.
Steve Bannon said in a recent interview that there might be plans for you to run and possibly win a third term in 2028. That's something you're ready to dispute, of course, just to be clear.
Well, I haven't really thought about that much. We have some very good people, as you know, but I have the best ratings I've ever had. I mean, I just made the decision. 8 wars, and the 9th is on the way. I believe that Russia and Ukraine...
You said at
2028 great people.
Well, we have great people. Well, I don't need to go into that, but one of them is standing right here. JD and the vice president are wonderful, and I think Marco is too. I doubt anyone would disagree.
Us. If Trump officially announces that this is the pair, he hasn't officially announced it yet. He just made a suggestion, which Vance, so to speak, shared with Trump's permission. They are essentially carrying out my plans, and I am preparing them myself. Who in the Republican Party would go against it? Well, only what I just told you, just to get noticed. And now look at Vance, who absolutely looks presidential. Yes, a slap in the face to the famous American Broadcasting Company host.
That's why, George, fewer and fewer people are watching your show, and why you're losing trust. Because you've been talking to the Vice President of the United States about this story concerning Tom Homan for 5 minutes now. A story that I read about, but I don't even know the video you're talking about. Meanwhile, low-income women can't get food because the Democrats and Chuck Schumer shut down the government. We're currently figuring out true pay because Chuck Schumer shut down the government. You're focused on a false story. You're implying criminal actions against a man who did nothing wrong instead of focusing on the fact that our country is suffering because of the government shutdown. Let's discuss real issues, George. I think Americans would benefit much more from that than from you digging into some strange leftist theory where the facts clearly show that Tom Homan didn't commit any crime.
This isn't a radical leftist theory. I wasn't implying anything. I asked you whether Tom Homan took $50,000, as was heard on an FBI audio recording from September 2024, and you didn't answer the question. Thank you for your time. This morning...
No, George, I didn't. Next, we'll be back soon.
He just shut up the vice president of the country because he had nothing to say. Just because he could. That's it. And here's Ruby.
In Salvador's case, absolutely, absolutely. We deported gang members including the one you had a margarita with. And this guy is a human trafficker, and this guy is a gangster, and this guy. And the evidence will be clear. And in the coming days, you will see whom you went to deliver. Mr. Chairman?
Senator, please. Secretary Rubio has the floor. Mr. Chairman, those statements are unfounded. Senator, your time is up. Secretary Rubio should submit this evidence to the United States federal court since he didn't do so under oath.
Here you go.
One more thing, all right? In our government, there is a separation between the federal branch and the judicial branch. No judge and no judicial branch can tell me or the president how to conduct foreign policy.
Adults, serious people who know what they're doing, and most importantly, they can explain what they're doing. And here is J.D. Vance again.
You know, he was making fun of the absurdity of the Democrats themselves. And right now, I solemnly promise to Hakeem Jeffries that if you help us reopen the government, the sombrero memes will stop. I discussed this with the President of the United States. To your first question, are we negotiating individually or in groups? Look, I'll go to the United States Capitol right now and meet with Chuck Schumer or any Democratic senator if it helps us reopen the government. Most of the conversations, at least in my experience, when
I joined the administration, they said, you know, one of the initiatives we're pursuing is increasing efficiency in the government. They want to achieve more while spending or investing less. And, for example, they said, one of the things we want you to pay attention to is consolidation. Can you, for example, take what are currently 4 jobs and just give them to one person? I said, that sounds great. Let's do it across the whole government. I didn't realize they just meant blah, blah, blah. Still, I'm truly honored to represent the National Archives and speak to you tonight. So, it's great to stand here. Like I said, it's always nice to receive an award and be recognized. You were a speaker, you were a member of the Senate, you were the chair of this, now you're the Secretary of State and National Security Advisor and Acting Archivist and Acting Director of United States Agency for International Development. So it's always great. And the Surgeon General, no, I'm kidding, I'm not that. No, that's...
It's funny, of course, but Rubio is not only the Secretary of State, well, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, yes, but also the President's National Security Advisor. That is, well, the second person to combine these positions after Kissinger. He's also the head of the archives, and as he jokes, he might become the chief doctor of the United States and the surrounding areas.
I wanted it. Can you get a uniform? I wanted it. You get a uniform. You know you get a uniform if you're the chief surgeon. I wanted it, but Elijah already got it. Working at the Library of Congress would be nice. That sounds like a good job. An acting librarian, Mario Diaz-Balart. Is that what you want?
the problem wasn't that Kamala's campaign was too short, it was that it was too long. When people actually listened to what she was saying, her ratings kept dropping and dropping. A 150-day campaign likely would have given us 3 more Republican senators and an even larger win for Donald Trump. The more people learn about Kamala Harris, the more they see there's no substance. Whether you agreed with Barack Obama or Bill Clinton, they had real substance and could clearly express their views. I listened to Kamala Harris for 90 seconds and I feel like I got dumber in the process and I have no idea what she actually believes in.
I think there are a couple more people, 2 or 3 people in the administration who could make great presidents. Well, the first one, of course, is Kovard Liudnik, of course. Although he won't run, Robert Kennedy, I think, would also make a good president. Tulsi Gabbard, by the way, would make a great pair with Kennedy. But we already have the pair Christine Don't forget about Eliza Stepanek, Doug Bergman. That is a good team, full of stars. But at the same time, Trump kind of organized it so that it works like a well-oiled machine. I immediately rule out Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. They're not public figures. I don't know Ron DeSantis's plans. I don't know Glenn Youngkin's plans. This is the governor of Virginia, Sarah Huckabee, daughter of Huckabee Sanders. I just don't know their plans, but I don't think they'll go against Trump's expressed wishes. Let's put it that way. Time will tell. Anything can happen. The Republicans have talent and a working program. The Democrats don't have a program today, but tomorrow it might appear again. But there is hatred and denial. They are united by hatred. Hatred is also a strong feeling to rally people, but people don't always rise up. You have to convince them that the one you're suggesting they hate is truly hateful. That's why, in fact, there are no prominent figures who could offer anything positive to America. Well, Kamala Harris, what can she, offer? So Gavin Newsom. So, according to current polls among Democrats, Pete Buttigieg has jumped to first place, and even Kamala said, "I don't want this gay guy on my team." Cory Booker, Josh Shapiro, Gretchen Whitmer. Well, probably only Shapiro has a chance, but I don't think he'll win the Democratic nomination. The others can't articulate what they stand for, although they can quickly explain what they're against. By the way, Shapiro could be invited as vice president by some woman, for example, someone who, I don't know, so to speak. They'll make some kind of pair. Getting through the Democratic Party today. And to be their nominee, you have to be a Democratic socialist. He's a communist, he's a fascist, and the country just won't accept someone like that. And Ocasio-Cortez is there again. So, well, that's already completely out of touch with reality. Although Democrats who became socialists, read communists, could pull off something like that too. Pete Buttigieg is, as I said, the worst Secretary of Transportation in United States history. But with his husband, he and his husband adopted someone's child, a girl, I think. He went on a 4-month leave for the birth of his daughter. The birth. So, right after the transportation crisis began, he just disappeared. He disappeared every time there were problems with planes, trains, or trucks, especially with planes, because he just didn't understand what was happening. No one can predict it. But if the near future is a continuation of today, the present, then after Trump there will be Vance and Norway, and then we'll see. I would like the Democratic Party to split into two, and its moderate part would form some kind of centrist, also pro-free market party, with which it would be possible to have discussions how best to move the country toward real personal freedom, improving prosperity, and protecting citizens and their property. Well, that's basically it. As of today, I think it's pretty funny. That's how it seems to me. Goodbye.